everyone, and welcome to Mental Health Matters with your host, Dr. Matt Gloviak. And thank you so much for being here and watching the show. 'Tis a season for the holidays as well as combating holiday stress. So, one of the great things about the holidays is that there's so much to celebrate. Enjoyable experiences with friends, family members, the work parties, holiday bonuses, perhaps, the exchanging of gifts, and everything else that comes along with it. However, with all that, there are a bunch of different stressors that people have to face. So, what we're going to focus on this episode is talking about some of the excitement we can look forward to for the holidays, as well as some of the ways to be able to combat the holiday stress. And then we'll move into everyone's favorite, the New Year's resolutions. Yes, that's right. New Year's resolutions, which most of us, including myself, to be honest with you, oftentimes never keep. But hopefully, I'll have some strategies to be able to help you keep that. And then we'll also conclude with talking a little bit about seasonal affective disorder, what it is, how to recognize if you actually have it, and some of the things that you could do about it. So let's rewind a little bit here. So considering the holiday season, there are so many different things that we can be celebrating throughout, this season. Taking a look, for some of us, it might begin with October 31st and bringing in Halloween and the trick-or-treating. Perhaps you celebrate Thanksgiving. Moving forward, we have different celebrations, including, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. We have Christmas. We also have the New Year's celebration that I just referred to here a few moments ago. There are also many other holidays as well. With those, there's plenty of opportunities to be able to sit down, hopefully relax, and enjoy some time with all of your loved ones. However, at the same time, too, we know along with it comes a lot of different stressors. Planning a holiday party, for instance, let's take a look at everything that's involved with that. The holiday planning, it's important to be able to get everybody on the same page in terms of the day and time you're going to be celebrating. Maybe you know the day, but trying to get everybody to agree to the time can be quite stressful. Then we have to make sure we have the appropriate invitation list. Are you going to be the one who's cooking everything? Are you going to be the one who's purchasing all the stuff? Or are you going to allocate the responsibilities to some of the different people who are coming? I know one of the things that works quite well with my family is I really love on Thanksgiving Day to be able to smoke the turkey. I like to put it outside for a good 12 and a half hours. My wife helps with the mashed potatoes and a French onion soup. And other people bring some of the different sides, such as the green bean casserole, bring in some of the rolls, bringing fruit salad, bringing some of the apple pie, pumpkin pie, so on and so forth. But even trying to arrange all of that, there's still some different worries that come in mind. Is everybody going to show up? Are they all going to bring their stuff? Is the food going to actually taste good? One of the points that I'm trying to get here with this is that even when we have moments that we're really trying to look forward to, there are a lot of stressors that are involved with it. And when we consider that, taking a look at the season, which is supposed to be a celebration, a time for us to be able to relax, rejuvenate, rejoice, there are a lot of stressors that can really make it challenging. For many people, taking a look at the holidays, there's going to be a lot of financial burden that's associated with it. While it's really great that we have different sales that are going on with the stores, such as Black Friday, we have the Thanksgiving Day sales, which kind of take people away from Thanksgiving. But all right, if you want to find a good deal, you find a good deal. Fortunately, they do them online now as well. We have Cyber Monday. I think one of the newer ones is Green Monday. We have Giving Tuesday, all the different shopping days in between. And while it's good and great that there's all these different sales, it's so important to be able to budget accordingly. What's going to be your strategy for going into this type of thing? So it's very easy to get carried away with the spending, and when you don't have the money, what types of options are there? One, we can find ourselves stressing out about even being able to buy gifts in the beginning. Two, it seems around the same time as these holidays are having the Black Friday sales and so on, we see all the credit card companies coming with their opening 0% interest for the next year, finding some type of balance transfer offer. We see the stores offering credit cards and everything. So are we going to charge it, or are we going to dip into the savings account and be able to spend the money that we've worked hard all year to be able to spend it on? It's really important to actually have a plan going into that so that you don't feel the stress going into the following year. And as I think many of us know, we have a plan that goes into place that, okay, I've got an interest-free credit card for the next 12 months. I'm sure I'll have it paid off in 8. But as we see life circumstances and so on, expecting the unexpected, things happen. It's very hard to pay it off within that amount of time. So do you have a plan to go through with the financial stressors? When we talk about friends and family, there can be a lot of stress associated with that. In some of the earlier episodes, I talk about how relationships are the number one stressor in an individual's life. Yes, while they're one of the greatest things that bring us joy, they can also be one of the things that really stress us out. I referred a few moments ago about trying to get the holiday list together in terms of who are we inviting to the party? Is everybody going to show up? Will they bring what they're supposed to have over? But what about some of those other things that are going on? Oftentimes we see family members, perhaps we haven't spoken, all year, and now we got to invite that individual who we're quarreling with over to the holiday party. That can be very stressful, preparing for the unknown, what's going to happen. Will we get into a fight, while we're actually at the party? Maybe we're going to make the decision to say, okay, I'm not even going to deal with it this year, and I don't want this individual to come over to the party. But with that, that can bring a lot of stress to other family members, other people who want that individual there, especially when we talk about siblings. We see sometimes the elders get very upset that, okay, why aren't you inviting your brother, your sister to this? This is supposed to be a time of the year where we make amends and try to make things work. And there can be all sorts of stress there. And then getting to the house, dealing with some of those criticisms that we might have. Oh, the food isn't good enough. Oh, your house isn't as nice as it could be. Oh, I'm doing a lot better than you are, and so on. What types of things are you doing to be able to deal with that type of stress that's going on here? Now, I know that everything's a lot easier said than done, but to be completely honest, it's very important that we're real with ourselves in terms of what it is that we're going to be able to withstand in the holidays versus what types of things we're not going to be able to stand as we go into the holidays. So for instance, if you do have a friend or a family member who you feel obligated to invite on over to the party for whatever reason, it's important to be proactive with that. Actually take some time before the holiday party to try to have the conversation instead of waiting until you're breaking apart the wishbone on the Thanksgiving turkey. Whether that's a phone call, meeting in person, talking about the things that are actually bothering you and having an adult type of conversation, about it. One of the biggest issues that we have when it comes to other people is actually having open, honest communication. One of the things about being a counselor is that my role is to be very upfront with people. I have to be direct. While I'm tactful in what I say, I don't necessarily sugarcoat it because people are coming to me to recognize what problems are going on and what types of roadblocks they have in the way to be able to work through the problem. We want to find some type of resolution to be able to get to a better place. However, in real life, it's a lot different, and I'll even say so in my personal life. It's one thing for me to tell a client, okay, well, these things are out of order, and this is really what needs to be going on. But in my real life, it could be a lot easier to sugarcoat things. Well, it's really not that bad when it's actually something terrible, or here I'm just going to brush it off to the side. It's not that big of a deal. But then the entire holiday party, getting upset that people are making comments or just really not wanting to have the person there. So making sure that we have those types of conversations in advance. And sometimes in some cases, and this is something that could be one of the last resorts because obviously it's best to be able to work through problems, but if something is completely unavoidable, again, having that conversation and not putting yourself in a situation where you and everybody else around you is uncomfortable having that friend or family member there, where it's highly likely that things can become volatile and so on and so forth. So very important to be upfront and honest with the type of communication that you're going to have here. Another thing that we have to consider as well is that with substance use. Now, we see it all the time. In terms of alcohol, we drink alcohol for celebrating different types of occasions, birthdays, the holidays, weddings, baptisms, showers, so on and so forth. And the holidays are a pretty big time to continue drinking. Again, Halloween, Thanksgiving, New Year's is a really big one where we have that going on. You have to take a look at yourself. is it going to be appropriate for you to consume alcohol at these different types of parties? Is it something where if you can't control your drinking, so one drink leads to two, leads to four, leads to 10? In those types of cases, especially if you can't control the drinking and there's risk of you driving home, or there's going to be risk of you getting into a volatile situation with one of the family members like I just previously discussed, it's going to be best to be able to find a way to be able to curb the drinking. Whether, one, not having any type of drink at all. Two, perhaps even looking into something like a non-alcoholic beer if you absolutely feel like you need to have something. Or Welch's makes a really great sparkling wine, which I always enjoyed as a kid and still do to this day with my children. Again, being proactive with that type of thing. Taking a look at the 12-step groups and other type of support groups. This is especially the time to make sure that we're leaning on the appropriate support to be able to help us get through these times. Again, the financial burden, the relationships, maybe not having anybody in your life to be able to spend the holidays with, and then also having a substance use problem on top of it, it's very important to talk about it. And that's one of the great things about the various support groups is that they don't take time off for the holidays. I know individuals who haven't had a drink in the past 30 years, and they know that the reason that they don't is because they're active with their recovery. They're constantly engaged with it, and they're actually going to meetings, before going to the holiday party and that. So really thinking through that type of thing. Now, on the opposite end, if you're an individual who doesn't necessarily have a substance use problem but does like to drink, maybe, to everybody's benefit, if you do consider the environment, if you do have a loved one or a friend who's coming over to enjoy the holidays who is working on one's recovery, so that can be anywhere from limiting the number of drinks you have in front of the other person, making sure that you have an assortment of different beverages, so staying away from just beer and wine, but offering water, soda, or whatever else is appropriate for the season. I like eggnog. That type of thing can be good. Maybe just not even having drinks there at all, again, to be able to help support that individual. We want to think about all these different things to be able to try to work through it. The other part of it as well is I keep talking to, everybody about, well, what if you're the one throwing the party and these are the types of considerations that you have? What else do we see? It could be as stressful, if not even more stressful, going and visiting everybody on the holidays. Let's take a look at what the normal type of holiday looks like. I know in my family, we have numerous holiday parties that start all the way in the beginning of December. This month, I have multiple birthdays. My sister, happy birthday. It was just yesterday. I've got my nephew, has his birthday here in just a couple more days. So we've got those that are going on among other family member birthdays. Then we have, various holiday parties that we'll be going to at my uncle's house, and then my parents' house, and then my uncle-in-law's house, my mother-in-law. We're throwing one. And it can be very difficult trying to figure out exactly how to be where, how, and when. And it's very taxing because here we are at the end of the year, and as we know, with the end of the fiscal year, with our jobs, many of us are trying to tie everything down to appear as though we had a solid 2019. So there's a lot of work responsibilities, so we're trying to get things done before we go into the holidays, so that can be very stressful. Important to pace yourself. And then we have a few days of holiday celebration. We go back to it, burn the candle on both ends. Again, celebrate perhaps New Year's, and then we go into the New Year. So a lot of stress that's going to be there professionally for you. But then taking a look at the holiday obligations, you may have to go 2-3 different places on the same day. I remember I was speaking with one of my friends. One of the wildest holidays I heard of was somebody was actually going to 5 different holiday parties in the same day. I don't even know how it was possible, but yes. And the whole thing started the night before, making sure that, we were celebrating with the family and stayed at that house until 1 in the morning, drove an hour to get home, got back at 2, got the presents ready, 5 o'clock in the morning, get up, 6 o'clock trying to get ready to go to the next house, be there by 7 o'clock, then stay at that party for the next 3 hours, drive an hour, go to the next one for 3 hours, drive a half hour, the next one for 4 hours, drive another hour, next one for 5 hours. And now all of a sudden, it's been 2 days of partying, getting back home, feeling completely exhausted, not rested at all whatsoever, and then having to go back to work the very next day. Again, it is normal to experience that type of stress. So I know for the holidays, while it is a time of excitement, it can be something that can be particularly challenging, and it's so important to pace yourself appropriately. Now, I know as human beings, we really try to be people pleasers, but if something just isn't in the cards and it's not going to work and it causes more stress than it's worth, again, it's important to have that communication with other people. Perhaps we can negotiate. Maybe instead of having the party on the actual holiday, it could be the week before, it could be the week after. Maybe invite some individuals to your house, maybe bring the families here together. That type of stuff can really go a long way because, again, this is supposed to be a time for celebration, not something that we're going to be dreading. Now, one of the ththings I really wanted to talk about here as well is our New Year's resolutions. So I get the biggest kick out of New Year's resolutions. Being a clinician, it's funny. I'll work with clients, and one of the things I really try to do with them is do a recap of what we did in the previous year. So I'd go up to one of my clients here this month. So how do you think 2019 went for you? And we'll talk about the high points, we'll talk about the low points, and really try to figure out what we could be focusing on next year. And I'm like, okay, so what should our goals be for 2020, and I get this huge list of goals, 20 different things. Well, Matt, what I'm going to do here in the next year is I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to quit drinking, I'm going to call my mom, 3 times a week for an hour at a time. I'm going to start saving money, I'm going to work out, I'm going to give up the fast food, I'm going to go out and have some fun with some friends, so on and so forth, and the list just goes on. A wise man once said, if you have 3 or more goals, you have no goals because you have too many, you can't focus on them all at once. And the other thing too is when we take a look at some of these goals, it's very difficult to focus if you don't actually have a plan of action in place. So one of the things that I want to encourage each of you to do, especially if you are one who tries to have a New Year's resolution, really try to keep it to 1 or 2 goals maximum, and then really have a strategic plan that's going to follow through with that. And as you find success and you continue to get better, then maybe we can start to change our focus to some of the other goals and continue moving on. Now, if you're a person who hates New Year's resolutions for the exact reason that I just gave you here, which many people do, I know, I can say I'm one of those as well because I've learned from past experience, that's okay. You can start your New Year's resolutions at any time. Every day is a new day. Every day is an opportunity to be able to start fresh, so don't worry. If they don't start January 1st, January 2nd is just as good. January 30th, A-okay. February 2nd, fine. But let's try to get to them sooner than later and not push it out that far out. So I want to take a moment to talk about these things that we call SMART goals. So SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So let's talk about some of these goals here. So a common goal that people have here is that, okay, I want to be healthy. So we'll say, okay, goal, and I apologize, please forgive my handwriting, it's gotten worse through the years. But we're going to say our goal is to be healthy. Okay, so what does being healthy mean? I mean, there's so many different things that we could say about being healthy. Being healthy to me can be going out and exercising 30 minutes a day. Being healthy could mean quitting smoking. It could mean quitting drinking, getting rid of the fast food. It could mean being mentally healthy, getting rid of all these different stressors I've got going on in my life. Can also tie into wealth and financial goals and so on. So when you go in and say, oh, my goal in 2020 is to be healthy, that's not very specific, and you might find yourself floundering around. So, a specific goal here, so we'll say with S, would be, I want to lose weight. Okay, so specific goal for being healthy is I want to lose weight. Okay, so now we have something, and again, please forgive my handwriting, I know it's terrible, but, so the specific goal, I want to lose weight. Now we want it to be measurable, so what does it exactly mean that you want to lose weight? Are we talking about 5 pounds? Are we talking about 10 pounds? Talking about 20 pounds? Now, is this something that you want to take a look at and say, okay, I would like to lose, 50 pounds over the next year? Okay, so we could say, my goal is to lose 50 pounds lost this year. Okay, so that makes sense. So now we have something specific. I want to lose weight to be healthy, and I want to lose specifically 50 pounds as my goal. Perfect. Now, taking a look around at this, now is losing 50 pounds something that would be achievable? Now, 50 pounds, it really depends on a lot of different factors. Number one, how much do you weigh from the very beginning? 50 pounds, if you weigh more, okay, it can be achievable to actually lose the 50 pounds there. If you're somebody who's underweight, losing 50 pounds can clearly be detrimental to your health. So that would be something that we certainly wouldn't want to do. So you want to make sure that it's something that's going to be, relevant as we talk about here, and I'll get to that here in a moment, but something that's going to be achievable. So beyond actually what the starting weight is, what are your mobility factors? Are you actually able to go on out and exercise? In terms of diet, do you have any dietary restrictions? Will anything get in the way of that there? Financial constraints, we could take a look at, a lot of the healthier foods and so on. Produce you can get quite affordably. Some of the other foods that are processed you want that are healthy are going to cost a little bit more. So you have to consider whether or not this is achievable. And so I would say in this case, if you meet the mark for you have enough weight to lose the 50 pounds, you actually have a plan in terms of the diet and exercise it's appropriate, something you need to do for your health, then absolutely. And we would say, depending on the weight, depending on what you want to do for your health, it can certainly be something that is relevant. We'll check that here. And then as far as time bound, so we said that we wanted to lose the 50 pounds in a year. So we're going to give ourselves specifically 1 year to go from, let's say, 250 pounds to 200 pounds. So the beginning of the year could be 250. As long as I hit by December 31st, 2020, 200 pounds, I hit my goal. But, with that, we're going to want to be able to think in terms of the short term. We're going to want to have some objectives that are going to be here as well. So, with 50 pounds, well, that's a really great amount to be able to lose weight here. How are you going to get there? Because it's probably not going to be the best idea for you to wait until December 15th, 2020 to put your plan into effect and be like, okay, here it is. I'm going to lose 50 pounds in 15 days. But what might be more appropriate would be to have a goal of losing, let's say, about 5 pounds. Again, I know this is terrible. Please bear with me. A month. So losing about 5 pounds or so a month that we have going on there, over the year, that's going to take you to about, 40 pounds or so. So we'll say 5 plus or minus, pounds a month that we're going to have here. Some months you might lose 5, some you lose 10, some you lose 3, some you break even. But we want to continue working on that throughout the course of the year. And also, as we go through this, if I have more time, I can give further examples. But, we don't start off by running a marathon. Might even be too much to begin by running a half marathon. Maybe a 5K or something can be more appropriate. Stating in the very beginning that my goal is to go to the gym 3 hours a day, 7 days a week is probably inappropriate, because what we see with individuals who do try to set those types of goals is that they'll do it the first week or two, and then after that they miss a day, and then they feel discouraged for missing the day, and then they miss another, and then it goes down to 2 hours a day, and then we miss another day, and it just completely goes off track. An appropriate goal, especially in the very beginning, could be something as simple as walking around. If you don't feel like you're ready for the gym yet, take 20-minute walks around the neighborhood every single day, or do it 3 days a week for 30 minutes to get started. Then increase the distance of the walk, or increase the time to about 30 minutes or so, and get yourself to a point where you are ready for a gym. For those of you, though, who did see our previous episode with Eric McCants, personal trainer, we did see that you don't even need to have a gym to be able to achieve these types of goals here. Again, they are achievable. You're able to do them even if you can't afford the gym, because you can do push-ups, sit-ups, things like that at home, walk around the neighborhood, ride a bike, buy a used bike from somebody on Craigslist, Facebook garage sale. That's one of my favorites. Those types of things. And have something that's going to be realistic that you could do moving forward, and you're going to feel much more encouraged. Guys like me, for instance, when I was in high school, I was able to bench press a pretty decent amount of weight. I probably can't even do 50% of what I was able to do back then. So if I made at age 36 my bench pressing goal right now to be the same of what it was when I was 18 years old, completely impractical. And I know that that's another area where individuals get stuck. So it's very important that we pace ourselves accordingly, do something realistic. And this is going to be the same if we take a look at finances, we take a look at mental health, we take a look at trying to take time out for self, starting a family, and so on. Again, even with our finances, I hinted a bit earlier as I was talking about getting into that credit card debt, paying for the holidays. I get the interest-free account, and I believe I'm going to pay it off in 12 months. If you don't have a plan, you probably won't. So we want it to be something practical. $1,000 a month to pay off $12,000 you spent on Christmas when you're making $36,000 a year, probably not going to be the most practical thing. So one of the things we need to do is adjust accordingly, spend appropriately, budget ourselves appropriately, and that's the way that we're going to be able to move forward and have these types of goals. And I will take a moment in the future and with another episode to get into these more specifically as well, but I wanted to share them now because we're talking about New Year's. So another thing that I was referencing here as well, not necessarily tied into the holidays, but seasonal affective disorder. SAD is the acronym for that one. And it's one of those things here where a lot of individuals, when they approach the holidays, particularly coming into this time of season, here we are in the Midwest. Today, right now, for instance, it was 20 degrees out. Kind of a person who doesn't like to wear coats unless it's 20 or less. And today I was certainly wearing a coat while I was driving on in here. But it's cold, it's damp, it's dark. All these types of things are a recipe toward getting us to a point where we do feel down. Many people, even if you don't have seasonal affective disorder, can get to a point of feeling kind of bummed out. January is one of those hard months. The holidays are over. Maybe beginning your New Year's resolutions or not, might not have many things to look forward to. It's hard to go outside and enjoy those different activities and so on, and just being in that type of situation can bring you down to begin with. However, it can bring you down even further when you have seasonal affective disorder, as it is something that does mimic, for all intents and purposes, what you would see with major depressive disorder. So individuals, the big difference that we're going to see here between somebody who's just bummed out about it being the nasty weather outside and somebody with seasonal affective disorder is the clinical grade of the symptoms. So again, feeling down and out, lacking that motivation, starting to withdraw from different obligations, such as maybe calling into work, not hanging out with friends and family, just feeling overall low mood. And what we're going to see here as well in terms of neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin are responding, and they're not activating the most appropriate way. So you can get to a pretty bad place. Now, if this is you and I'm describing something that you go through year after year after year, the good news is that you have an awareness of what it is that's going on. And I always say, you can only heal what you feel. We need to have some type of awareness of what's going on. So if this happens year after year, please do know that you're not alone with this and that there are some things you could do to go into it. So for instance, if you're somebody who enjoys outdoor sports, perhaps you can find an indoor sport to be able to participate in: indoor basketball, indoor volleyball, racquetball, indoor swimming and so on. Talking about going to the gym here and that. Scheduling some activities with friends. One of the things we used to do after the football season was over, we'd have Monday night football get-togethers, change it to Meal and Movie Mondays, where every single Monday we would celebrate a different ethnicity. We would try different foods, different movies, and so on. That was something to look forward to. Maybe be able to schedule a vacation to somewhere that's warmer. Now, if you can't afford scheduling the vacation to somewhere warmer, they actually do have happy lights, which are a special type of UV fluorescent light that actually does help provide the type of vitamin D we receive from the sun. Remember, when individuals do become vitamin D deficient, that will have an impact on your mood. So perhaps taking additional vitamin D, spending some time in front of that light, making a point to call family members and friends and have different types of social engagements. That type of stuff, when you're proactive, can go a very long way. And by all means, if you do need to talk to somebody about it, talk to somebody about it. It's a really great opportunity for you to go to a support group, speak to a counselor, and be able to get the appropriate help that you need. Now, I know this has been by no means all-inclusive, and I tried to jam a lot here into this little combating the holiday stressors episodes, but honestly, if you do have anything that's going on, it's important to talk about it and reach out to people you feel will be the most appropriate support to you. As always, thank you for tuning into this episode. If you would like to share any comments, questions, concerns, or would like to be a guest on the show, please feel free to send me an email to drm.gloviak@gmail.com. You can like us, share everything on the Facebook page, view us on YouTube. I always appreciate the thumbs up, and I wish you a happy holiday season and a happy 2020. Look forward to speaking with you again soon.